Hi there, I'm David.
And I'm Con, and welcome to another episode of Camera Peeps. And David, we've got Peter back. Hi, Peter.
Hey, Con, Dave, how are you?
Good, and you?
Good, good. What are we talking about today?
Well, one of my favourite subjects, actually. Part of my training palette is working with stills photographers. Men and women who have, some of them are incredibly experienced. Some of them have been photographers that I've admired, newspaper photographers, and people I've admired for many, many years. And I have the pleasure of actually working with them to help them to transition to video. They are still using the same sort of camera, the DSLR style cameras, the Canon, even the Canon 1D Mark IVs, which some of them still seem to use for video.
Yep.
And so I specialise, as one of my special sweet spots as a trainer in cinematography, is that I work with stills photographers from newspapers, from media groups, in Australia, and I do quite a bit of work in New Zealand and Papua New Guinea as well, believe it or not. And I take them across to video. I basically port their existing skills and teach them how to shoot stories with the same camera but shooting video. It's quite tricky for them because they understand a story, but they see a story as a single frame or maybe a montage of 2 or 3 shots. So my quest is to be able to show them how to actually tell a story with a video camera and the things that they need to shoot. The fact that they have to spend more time on location to actually achieve this, but still utilising the same lenses and the same set of skills they've always had for composition, exposure. All those things are all still well and truly intact, but we have to just use those in a different way. So I just wanted to just share with you some of the things that I show them, and basically I want to inspire them to shoot video, because it is quite hard, and it's a difficult learning curve even for experienced photographers. But more than anything, I want them to know that they can do this. It's not that hard. They already have skills. We just need to shape them, just push them into a slightly different area and slightly different way of thinking.
Now, you have a saying, what do you call it? They have to shift?
Yeah, I have to kick in a different set of gears to shoot video. So it's just like moving across to a new set of gears that will churn away and to help them to shoot video.
Fantastic. So who knows, I might even learn something. So what do you got up first? What's a tip that you often encounter? Yeah,
one of there's quite a few aspects of the transition from stills to video that are very, very, very important. I think one of the most important ones is the use of the telephoto lens and the power that a telephoto lens has in any photography, the ability to take the viewer or the person looking at the image or the person watching a sequence, to be able to take them so far into a scene to a place they could never normally see. So in a still shot, people can study a long lens shot and look at it, and they just can sort of explore it all over. Their eyes can roam all over the image. In cinematography, we use the telephoto lens as a way of gathering a whole lot of interesting material and using layers to be able to layer the shots up to create transitions within the sequence. We actually use the lens, and not so much the lens, but the way the lens compresses and the way that it allows things to pass through frame to work as beautiful inbuilt transitions. And the power of the telephoto lens in cinematography. Sorry, Con.
Do you have any examples you can show us?
I do, and funny you should say that.
So you're going to transition to your desktop now.
Yes, I've got something prepared, like in the cooking shows.
Yeah.
Something I prepared earlier, and I'm just going to take you to Final Cut Pro. Can you see that?
Yeah,
there?
we can see your desktop now with Final Cut Pro. Yep.
Okay, so look, let's have a look at a few shots. I've filmed these transitions over quite a period of time. I've got the wrong clip up. I'm just going to go back again. Just excuse me for a sec. Here we go. Telephoto lens. Look, this is just a series of shots that I took to show photographers how we now must be aware of not only what's in the frame, but it's not about what's in the frame, it's also about what's happening in the frame.
Mm-hmm.
The problem for stills people is that they are so used to putting the camera up to their eye, snapping away, getting a fantastic shot just at that right moment.
Yep.
But this can impact on their video work where they tend to not be aware of the motion, the actual things that are happening in the frame. So I encourage them to actually, as they're shooting, to actually observe the movement. Is there something coming from left to right? Is there something coming from right to left? Is there something about to brush through the frame that could make a nice transition? So
sorry to interrupt. Can you actually, because we're not seeing you, can we actually maybe show some examples? Because
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
I'll stop blabbing. I can take a hint, Con. I can take a hint.
Sorry. So while we've got Final Cut up, it'd be great to be watching some images as you're speaking,
Yeah, sure. Okay, I didn't realise you couldn't see me.
Yeah, no, you're just a little insert when we're in this mode, but yeah.
Okay. So, can you see some full frame images at the moment?
Yeah, we're seeing a full frame image of a sedan.
Yes.
Ford Territory.
Ford Territory.
Yeah.
You know your cars, David?
That's a good Melbourne-made car, that one. Yeah.
Not anymore.
Yeah, this is an old one. I updated it a few years ago. Anyway, this was my favourite. Just by way of introducing, basically the field of view and the way that the telephoto lens works. Of course, we all, photographers know this, but I'm always basically reinforcing this. So I show a wide shot with the camera at the wide angle end of the lens, just a few meters away from the front of the car.
Yep.
Then I go back about 8 meters and try and accommodate the shot, the same field of view, but with a long lens, and showing just how dramatic that effect can be.
Yeah.
Going from a wide shot close to a longer shot. And in video, as we'll see in a moment, these images become very, very, very strong on the screen. They tend to sit up on the screen. They jump out at you, especially on a tablet or in a web browser. So again, here, photographing people, I use this example of a mannequin doll, whose name I've forgotten. How soon we forget. And again, this is another example of the camera being quite close to the model, to the mannequin. We can see a lot of the background. The field of view is actually quite wide, and of course the depth of field is actually quite deep. Simply by virtue, we're using a wide angle lens. Nothing's changed except the camera has gone back about 6 meters and just pushed in to frame the same size shot.
Wow,
and
that's a big
just
difference.
Look at the difference in the two. Here she looks quite gangly, nose looks too big, shoulders kind of look a little bit small, her face, it's just not, the shoulders kind of look a little bit small for her head, but when you go back you just get a much stronger shape. She just looks very confident, and of course our background's gone beautifully away, and we're not sort of looking at a distracting background. So there's a lot to be said for the telephoto end of the lens, as you can see. Even if you're just framing somebody for an interview, or just doing general video shots of someone walking and someone talking, the difference between this and this. So that's a good example. I've got a sequence I want to show you now. I'm just going to pause it when it starts. Just give me a sec. There we go. So the sequence I'm about to show you was something I shot down in York Street on a quiet day. It was actually a quiet day, believe it or not, in Sydney. And I just shot it all on the long end of the lens simply because there wasn't a lot of traffic around. I just wanted to make it look busier. So this is all shot on the long lens. So I use this to show stills photographers how we allow things to move through frame to create a sense of not exactly chaos, but just the fact that there's a lot of stuff going on when there might not be a lot of stuff going on. Because as you know, in video, we often have to make the best of a bad situation. So I'll just let the camera roll for a little bit, let the video roll for a bit. As you can see, these wipes give us beautiful reveals, buses going through frame, very strong images again. As things pass through the frame. These are magical moments. Again, I'll just run that backwards. I always instill into photographers that whenever something passes through the frame, this is a magic moment. This is the moment you've been waiting for. You hold off. You hold on. Don't roll until you know something's going to come through the frame. So in this case here, we've got a bus coming through and giving us a beautiful wipe. So we could actually go back if we wanted to and make our edit. Say our cut could be here and just reveals the bus. Now we've got a lot of things happening that you don't normally see with your eye, reflections, that sort of beautiful compacted look. You're not seeing that there's not a lot of traffic.
Yep.
Now, as if to go from the sublime to the ridiculous, this is very briefly, I had to shoot 3,000 sheep, but I got there to up at Longreach, and there was only 300. They'd shorn most by the time I'd got there. So I had to shoot this all on 300 mil to try and make it look like there was 3,000 sheep. So this is on a 300 millimeter lens.
Which camera, Pete?
Sorry.
Which camera are you using here?
Shot on a FS7 with a Canon 2.8 300 millimeter lens. Yeah.
Right. Nice.
Again, narrowing the field of view to make it look like there's a lot of sheep when there weren't. In fact, there was only a few, 300.
Oh, that's a shot that really shows that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just tracking along, pulling focus as you go. Again, for a lot of photographers, the fact that you actually have to pull focus as you're using the telephoto lens, like in this case here, you've just got to find that little sweet spot and just stay with it and then let it leave frame. That's if you kind of bugger it up, you just got to let them go. Just let it go. Again here with a chopper.
Is that you flying?
I love the backlit sheep. That's nice too.
Yeah, they always work, the old backlit sheep, don't they? But you can see here that we've got the guy on his motorcycle, and it just looked like there's thousands of sheep. I've got them all bunched up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just an example of sheep. Of making the best of sort of a situation where there wasn't much sheep. Now the other thing is I just like to get them in the habit of learning to pull focus as someone walks towards you. As you both know only too well, it really requires a lot of practice, and you can have bad days and good days when it comes to pulling focus. Would you agree?
Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on stills lenses when, it's millimeters and, it's not like a film lens where you got a bit of a throw that makes it a little bit easier to pull focus.
Yeah. So here's an example where someone's walking towards the camera at a moderate pace, and you've just got to try and hold focus as they come towards you. And of course, if you nail it, then you feel very happy. The trick here is when you lose it, you just lose it.
Don't try and hunt it back in.
Let them go and use that moment when they're out of.
And call it art.
That's it. Now you pulled your own focus there. That wasn't the autofocus on the camera, yeah?
No, that's just done by eye. But using the focus peaking in the Sony camera is a very powerful, but with peaking, that's not terribly hard. I don't find, but trick is that you get to a certain point where it goes, and you just let it go, and this becomes this blue massive shirt becomes the transition to the next shot.
So with the people that you're training up, how because it takes a lot of discipline to step up to video, because you actually need a good tripod. You have to hold the shots longer. You have to consider sound. So how are they coping?
Very well. Look, I think everybody. I think everyone I train, the stills photographers I train, always come to me knowing that they already have the skills in place to do this. What they need is really the storytelling ideas, the actual the technical side of shooting video, even on a DSLR camera. It doesn't take them. They kind of get that and they work it out. They've never used a proper video camera, so they think this is just the way it is. You know, you've got no proper screen. You've got no flip out screen. You've got no peaking. There's nothing to help you. So they're kind of assuming that that's the way it is. So that's kind of good, because a lot of them have never really worked with a beautiful FS7 or a Canon C300, which makes shooting video, you know, just such a pleasure. But they do know that these treats are down the track once they
But you do need a good mentor, because you know, when I started out as an 18-year-old at the TV station, you know, it was 4 years of just assisting, and you got your hands on the camera in the morning doing camera tests. But also as an 18-year-old, I was working with people who were 30 or 40 or 50, and you know, they'd been to the Vietnam War, and they were working before satellites and things, and they were fantastic mentors. And it was so good to actually be able to work with these people. And I still think that's an actually important part. That's good that they've got you to go to, but it's one thing that you can learn a lot off the internet and tutorials, but working with older people who've been around longer is actually a really huge part of learning as well. And
I totally agree.
Yeah, and even, you know, before TV came in, I mean, it's pretty much what happened at the, you know, the Hollywood studios. You know, people started out the darkroom, camera assistants, C movies, B grade movies, and if you were lucky enough, you ended up in the A grade movies at MGM or whatever. So, but you can't. You have to have someone to mentor you and just give you some good guidance and a different perspective.
Yeah.
So
again, Peter, for anyone wanting to partake of your training and further tips that you might offer people, whether they be photographers or just people starting out in video, where do they go to?
To my website. I've got a pretty comprehensive website dedicated to the training aspect of my work, and that is on the bottom of the screen. I think you'll see it there in a moment, peterdevries.com.au. There's different offerings there. Most of the training I do is one-to-one, or I do small groups, media organisations, for example, or groups of photographers from a particular from Fairfax, for example, in Melbourne. I've spent quite a bit of time in Melbourne working with Fairfax at their headquarters in Melbourne. So they can have a look and see what they, you know, what basically one-to-one simply means that we just work with what you need to know. You pick the topics, and we just zero in on what you need to learn in the time. That's the beauty of one-to-one. And I work with people who've never shot video in their life, even people who've never had much of an interest in photography. I have managed to get them out the door, champing at the bit, ready to shoot video.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy the training aspect of my work immensely, because I know that it gives people so much joy once they have some of the ground rules in place, and then they're free to create whatever they want to create.
Fantastic. So, Peter, I think we'll wrap it up there. Yep. Thank you very much for all that knowledge and information and tips. And if people want to, have more of that, they know where to go.
Yep.
All right. So, thank you everyone for joining us on this episode of Camera Peeps. Thanks to David. Thanks to Peter, and we'll catch you on the next episode.